But after I sent out that video, I actually felt relief, and I'm very glad that I actually helped some people to realize that, hey, they're not alone. I might look tough on the outside. Actually, I do face a lot of struggles when I was young. And they're actually glad that I shared. They even told me that it actually encouraged them.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Life and Well Talk Show with David Joshua Lee. Today with me, I have Natalie, who will be sharing a bit more of a journey in discovering who she is, and also I let her share about what she's doing now. She's an aspiring speaker, and she would like to benefit people in her target group in a meaningful way. And today, let's hear from Natalie what she had to say. So Natalie, please introduce yourself to the people who's watching.
Hey everyone, Natalie here. I'm really excited to be on David's show. I am a dance fitness instructor and I've been teaching for the past 10 years. However, I feel that it is time for me to expand on my expertise on fitness, and also I would like to share what I've been through to become who I am. So actually, I understand that there's a lot of talks about mental resilience, especially since COVID 2020. So I have a story to share as well on how I overcome my adversity to become what I am today. And I hope that my story will be able to resonate with people out there, knowing that they are not alone.
Oh, please share your story. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. I was a neglected child since young. And it's only me and my siblings. We are 6 years apart. So my dad was a gambler. Since young, we have been living in debt, even though I don't really know that side. I just know that my parents has been quarreling non-stop. I even saw my mom chasing my dad with a knife. So growing up with a very volatile family, emotionally volatile, I was often neglected. For some reason, my parents just didn't show me enough care, love, and concern. So with the younger sister, as you know, in Asian family, it's always about eat first and talk later. So since young, I craved that kind of attention, but I never got it. And my parents divorced when I was 12. So my mom sold her share to my dad pertaining to the matrimony home, and we shifted in with my mom's parents, so my paternal granny and my grandfather. In that house, with my mom, we have about 8 adults, 2 young kids, squeezing into a 3-room flat. And even then, things did not get any better because I'm not academic inclined since young, so I was deemed as useless, hopeless. It's like, what can I amount to when I grow up? Since I don't like to study, I cannot study. So the neglect continued. Nobody paid much attention to me. I choose my secondary school on my own. I go to school on my own. I come back home on my own. So nobody really cares much. And because of that, I grew up with a lot of anger and hopelessness. I was angry with the whole world. I always often wonder why this happened to me. And with the childhood pain, as I fast forward, grew up to a young adult, I don't know what to do. Since young, however, one thing I do know is that since young, I do not want to be in corporate because I don't like that kind of lifestyle. And I wanted to be a dancer. So I was trying very hard to become one, but I've never had the proper dance foundation. So I was doing odd jobs. I've even started dancing at those clubs where I become a podium dancer, just trying to break through into the dance industry. But because I am not well qualified, so I often lose out in terms of also they look at physical appearance. I'm not tall, I'm not pretty, so often I'm being looked over. So I drifted through that year. As more challenges came, as more obstacles I met, I became more and more depressed. And I think there was a time where I was suicidal. Even though I did not get clinically diagnosed, but I read up and I know that I display all the symptoms. And because I was doing odd jobs, I literally living from hand to mouth. And there comes a stage where I'm broke. I'm very, very broke. So one day, one of my lady friend, one of my female friends, she told me, hey, Nat, come, let's meet up for dinner. So she knew my financial status back then. So when we met up for dinner, she said, just eat whatever you want. Today is my treat. And that statement just broke me. I was even more angry at myself. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what have I become? Why have I come to that state? Then, but even then, I was so depressed and lost. I didn't continue to do much. I just let life drift. Then one day, I woke up and I realized that I'm already in my early 30s. Yet I accomplished nothing. I have no friends. I don't have a place to call my own. I don't have a job. I'm broke. So I told myself, this has to change. I cannot live my life like that. So I went to found a proper job, as what people would say. I got myself a customer service job. I was in this customer service job for 5 years, but I was very unhappy inside. It's a very mundane job to me, even though it pays the bill, but I was very unhappy. But one good thing came out of it is that I've learned what is called stability. I started to have stable income. My life was quite peaceful and stable back then. So I thought that, okay, I'll continue this, but how can I do what I want? So finally, 5 years later, I decided to quit. I quit with no job. By then, already in my mid-30s to late 30s. But I told myself I cannot stay in a job like that. It's killing me inside. So I decided to quit. After quitting my job, there was one day I was I bumped into a friend. So we learned salsa together, and she was a Zumba instructor. So she was like, Nat, why are you not teaching Zumba? You can dance and you can teach, so why not you come to this scene? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can teach. She's like, no, just come. So I decided to take up the Zumba instructor certification. And so I told my girlfriend that, hey, I've got the cert. She said, okay, this is what I have to do. So she told me how to move forward. And she was very nice. She even let me go into a class to teach with her. So that's how I started my journey. And through this journey, I've learned confidence. I've gained confidence, and I've gained regular students who are interested, who is keen in my teaching method. They like my teaching method. So slowly from there, I start to pick myself up again. And yeah, this is where I am today.
Okay, that's great. Share a bit more like what changed, like the turning point. What's the main thing that you've gained? I hear something about confidence where people start to accept you for who you are, right? And they start to see some expertise that you can give them. Are those things that make you more confident of who you are? Or is there something else?
I think as I look back to take a stock check of what I've done throughout my life, what I've done and not done, I realized 3 things. Number 1 is realization. Number 2 is resilience. And number 3 is realignment. When I realized that I was wasting my life away, I start to take ownership of my life. And I've never accepted myself since young. I don't like my hair. I don't like my face. I don't like the way I look. I don't like my height. I don't like everything about me. I don't even like my name.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was looked down since young. I was laughed at because my English is not very proficient. Like a lot of grammar mistake. My vocabulary is quite limited, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
So basically, I don't like myself. And when I reached my turning point, I realized that there's no one else that can love me more than myself. If I don't accept myself, if there's no self-love, there's no self-acceptance, then forever I'll be living in a spiral down because I will always be wondering, what am I doing? Is it correct or not? And if I don't accept myself, then I can never move forward.
Is there something that made you think that way? Book you read, a movie you watch, a person you talk to?
So when I realized, when I come to self-realization, I start to read up books from Tony Robbins and other motivation guru. So then I realized that, okay, yeah, I need to, pick myself up and stand on my own 2 feet.
Okay.
So I remember my godpa ever told me it's always good for a woman to stand on her own 2 feet, no matter how small the platform is. So that has spurred me. And while realizing that I need to have self-acceptance, I also come to realize that despite how life has knocked me down, there's always this fire inside me that tell me, I'm not going to die like that. So like, I'm going to bounce back and do, and I'm going to bounce back stronger. So with that, I built my resilience.
So like what you have shared today, thank you for sharing your story, right? I mean, it's something that we can learn. Many times, I think people out there, like you said, they might feel they are alone because, the things in the social media is always only about all the positives, right? And not many people are open to be vulnerable, and I'm very glad that you've done that. I'm sure what you've went through would have touched many people's heart. At the same time, right now where you are at, can you share what's the current state that you are at, and hence what are the things that you can help other people who are going through the same thing that you went through?
I'm currently at my stage, my life stage, where I'm loving myself. I'm not in love with myself, but I'm more self-love, definitely. And also I'm working towards what I want. I feel that the fitness journey has already, it's going to be my first half of my life, while my second half, I wanted to share my story about how I overcome my adversity, to let people know that, you're not alone. There's always someone out there, and it's not too late to start. So I'm a very proud person. For me to share my story, to be vulnerable in public is really very hard for me, because my students see me as a tough cookie. It's always like, oh, Natalie is so strong. Oh, Natalie, she's always so cheerful. Natalie is fun, even though it's class is tough, but there's always laughter surrounding those workouts. So for them to see me in this vulnerable light, it's very hard. It's a pill that's hard to swallow. So my girlfriend is also a coach. She's my childhood friend, actually. When she know about my story, she was like, Nat, you really have to get out there and tell people about this. Your story is so inspiring and powerful. It's such a ways to keep it, because I'm sure there are many people like you who want to know how you overcome. And you could have, I mentioned that I was suicidal. She said I could have just jumped off and my life. But I didn't. So she said, and now, looking back, my life is 180 degrees change. It's totally very different. I got my own 2-room flat at age of 48. So that is something I never thought I would have in my younger days. In my younger days, I was constantly worried about money. I don't know where my tomorrow lies. I don't know what I'm going to do next. But today, with that 3 R's, with realization, resilience, and realignment, I've put my life back on track. So I feel, actually last December, I did a 7-minute video to roughly talk about my life. And I received quite a few good response. So I know, and there are even people PM me and say that, they also have some childhood trauma. It's just that they do not have the courage to show. Because as Asians, we are very embarrassed to wash our dirty linen in public. That's what we're being taught and being brought up. So that's what I had in the first place as well. But after I sent out that video, I actually felt relief, and I'm very glad that I actually helped some people to realize that, hey, they are not alone. I might look tough on the outside. Actually, I do face a lot of struggles when I was young. And they are actually glad that I shared. They even told me that it actually encouraged them. So I met up with 1 or 2. They told me about their childhood struggle. And we bonded over those coffee sessions. And I'm so glad that I'm not alone. Actually, to be honest, I'm glad I actually put that video out. And from there, I learned that there are people who genuinely support me, and people are willing to share, regardless if in public or face-to-face, one-on-one. I think we all need to have that community to know that actually support out there.
That's good. It's very inspiring what you shared just now. Vulnerability is something that is lacking, especially in the past, right? But nowadays, I start to see more and more people being more open. At the same time, it could backfire also, right? Sometimes you might have certain things. But I guess when you love yourself, you understand who you are. You accept who you are. So those things doesn't matter as well. Just now you shared something about your journey in acquiring your current house, right? And I think that's very inspiring, even though many times people always brag about, oh, you know, I've reached millionaire before 30, I bought a certain house before 30 or things like that, right? 30s. But I'm very thankful that you are very open and share. And in fact, a lot of people are struggling financially, right? In Singapore, the cost of living is really very high. Houses are really very expensive and expectations are very different. How can you walk us through your journey of how you, like you mentioned, after you have a stable job, how did you manage your finances, or what habits that you've gained or applied that allows you to finally get your own place?
Okay, because I was totally broke, I literally had no money to eat. So when I got myself the customer service job, my first proper job, I told myself that I need to start to save. So at that time, I was only earning about more than 2,000, 2005. So I would save half of my salary. And I think back then POSB has this program, Save As You Earn or something, I'm not very sure. So it's a monthly program. Yeah, cost saving, I think. So it actually, if you take up the program, what they do is that they will, every month, they will deduct the amount you designated to a saving account. So I was doing that. And I actually forced myself to save 50% of my pay. So I think I took back up just about slightly over 2,000. So I only have one, back then I was still staying with my mom. So I only have more than it's like about 1,000 to survive on a monthly basis. So I didn't deprive myself of shopping or having meals, but I'm more watchful of where my money goes. I even have a journal to write down, okay, my daily expenses. Yeah. So after that, when I came to the Zumba industry, because I'm a self-employed, so our income fluctuates. So I told myself, okay, let me just see what's my minimum earning for the month, because we have lull period, like during December, June holiday is always a lull period. So there's a lot of lull period, would you call that? That means lower sign up compared to just 1 or 2 peak period where after Chinese New Year, everybody want to come back for class. So I tell myself, okay, so I asked myself, I recorded what's my lowest income intake and what's my highest. So from there, I told myself, okay, that means in order to survive minimum, I need to have this much. And as a self-employed, as you know, every income counts. So I have to see how many classes I can take a week, which my physical ability allows. So from there, I also start saving about 20%. And also as a self-employed, we have to pay our own income. We have to contribute to our own CPF. And we still have to pay income tax. So I have to take all this into consideration. Then, so back in, I think, about 5-6 years ago, one of my students asked me, don't you want to stay on your own? Because I'm not having a good relationship with my mom. So everything was very chaotic at home, emotionally and mentally. It was very negative back then at home. So I was like, yeah, I do, but it's something I dare not think about. She was like, why don't you try getting a BTO? Just put your name in, it's balloting anyway. I was like, okay, fine. So that year, there's 2 places. So I did my ballot in February, I didn't get it. And then came August, so there's another ballot near my mom's place. I chose that place is not because it's near my mom, because I'm already familiar with this area, and my work area is a northeast area. So I wanted somewhere accessible and familiar to get to work. So I said, okay, I'll still choose my mom's area and let's see how. Lord and behold, I was very lucky. I got selected. I was the last second of the entire balloting, and I thought it was a scam when I received the email. I was like, unbelievable, because it is so hard to get a queue number in this ballot. So finally, when the news found in, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I started to work with my insurance agent, because I invested my CPF. So I know that my money is parked there. So I start to contribute. I'm already contributing to my CPF. So I said, okay, do I need to increase? Does my payment allow me to increase a little bit more? And at the same time, I'm also saving cash on the side.
Mm.
So yeah, that's how I actually got my house. It's not very. It's I always say I'm staying in a hotel room size because, as you know, the BTO currently is very small. I'm very happy that I get to have my own place to stay. As small as it is, it's my own place. And I remember when I engaged my ID told me, "Do you know that not many Singaporeans can afford a house on their own? So you have done an amazing feat. Don't discount yourself." So she was very impacted at the same time as well. So yeah, I'm very happy.
Have your own journey. Don't compare with others. I think that's very important to be happy.
Yes, and I realized that as I start to leave out the 3 R's on my own, things change. So I don't want to be very religious, but I do feel that this is because I'm a Christian, so I do pray about it, and I do believe that this is a house that God has given me, and He has helped me throughout my journey. And I realized that after, as I mentioned, as I start living out my three R's, things change. When I start to have self-acceptance, when I realize what am I short for, that even though I might not born in a family that give me a lot of care, I didn't know anything when I was younger, but when I grew up, I knew stuff. I start to know things. I start to work. I have experience and all that. It's no longer fair for me to just put the blame on someone else.
Yeah.
So I start to realize that once I start to take ownership, I build my resilience, and I realign everything back. So yeah, now I'm truly living my life.
I think one thing you mentioned, even though you didn't mention much, right? You said that you pray and God help you. I think let's just go a short while there. Like, since when you start to realize your faith, in Christ? I mean, I don't mind understanding.
You are Christian too?
Yeah, I am. I believe
it's one. Okay, then I can talk about it.
Yeah, because wealth, like, may you prosper in all things just as your soul prosper. One thing that I realized is that your soul prosperity is very important, right? Your spiritual and soul prosperity is very important. Many times people cannot withhold or cannot contain the wealth that they have, the physical wealth that they have, because first they don't have a wealthy soul, right? And also all about themselves and things like that. So when did you accept Christ, and how does being a Christian help you in your journey?
I accepted Christ when I was in my early 20s, but it was just accept, not nothing much. I went to church. I don't felt the Holy Spirit and all that. Even though I do speak in tongues back then, I managed to get my tongues, but I drifted in and out of church. So I went to this church, I don't like it, I go to another. So I kind of like church hopping, but I didn't do it frequently. It's more like I'll stay in the church for about 1 or 2 years. I'll drift in and out, and then I don't like it, I move on. So I've not been to church for the past at least 20 years. So when my student told me about, would you like to get a flag? I was like, okay, I'll just pray. I still believe in God, even though I'm not actively going to church. I said, okay, because you know what, talking about God, I feel that He called me to teach. So I know I had a calling to teach when I was in my 20s. I just refused because I told God, no, I don't want. This is a heavy burden. I don't know how to teach people. I don't want to teach people the bad things. Even I myself had a learning issue. I'm a slow learner. I don't learn 100%. I don't know how I can teach someone else. But there's always teaching opportunity back then. I just reject everybody. So I've been running around in circles. And finally, I reached a point where I resigned my customer service job. And then I'm into my girlfriend who asked me to become a Zumba instructor. I was like, okay, God, are you happy now? You make me like a Jonas. I'm like, being swallowed in a whale. You push me to a corner, now I got no job. Fine, I will do what you say. You want me to teach, I will teach. But you must make sure I got money to eat, because that's my main concern. And even though throughout these 10 years, I have challenges and obstacles, but I tell you, the minute I start to do His calling, doors open. Things change. I start to have jobs. I'm able, imagine last time I can't even walk into a McDonald's and order anything. Now I can just walk into a restaurant without worrying about the service charge and all that. I don't have to calculate if I have enough to eat for that meal. Of course, I'm not fabulous. I don't spend my money anyhow. And now it has become like, okay, if I want to have a good meal, for example, if I want to go to Lau or whatever, I can just walk in without any hesitation. And when friends gather for dinner, I can just say yes. I'll not keep saying that, no, I'm not free, that sort of stuff. I don't want to give excuses. So God has opened many doors for me, and it was really through my teaching that I've learned about God's love, and He actually sent me a student, and every time when there's not enough sign up, I'll say, God, how I cannot meet my target. You have to help me. So then he came to the house. So I told him, can I have a house of my own? And he did. So that's how I got the house. So I told him, okay, now we have our house. I need the money. Pay for the house and the renovation. You have to help me. So I can tell you, when I said that prayer, for that 2 or 3 years, miracles happened. My classes almost full every term. So that's how I actually managed to save up enough to pay for the house. And of course, when I got my flat, I dedicate this entire house to God, because I told him, oh, this is from you. I have nothing to do with it. You're staying. I invite you to stay in this house for me with everything.
Yeah.
And in 2020, when we have the COVID lockdown, I come to realize that because I had no income for 3 or 4 months, so I told God, I cannot do this. It's very stressful for me. As what you said, as you know, as a self-employed, 我们的工作是手停口停. So I'm always very stressed about money because of my
experience.
Yeah, because of my experience. So I told God that I want to, can I divert my career? I said, I know you want me to teach, but can you don't let me so 辛苦 or not? Can I stop jumping? Can I stop teaching classes to earn money? If you want me to teach, you tell me, you open another door. I will still teach, but you give me another door. Okay, but can I just leave the fitness aspect behind? So back then, coaching was in thing. So I thought, like, okay, maybe I wanted coaching. I did some coaching course, but I did nothing. So I just basically don't let this thing set. And until 2023, finally, I think as of last year, this notion came to my mind. I want to go back to church. So I went back to City Harvest. No, not I went back to City Harvest. I went to City Harvest. Back then, I had a very bad impression of City Harvest. I don't like City Harvest. I feel that they are a cult because of their worship and all that. So I think it's too overwhelming for me. Nothing wrong with that church. It's just not able to accept their way of worshiping. I think back then it was too much for me. Then, because my girlfriends were there, I have a few girlfriends who attended. So I actually asked them, what made them stay throughout Pastor Kong's saga?
Yeah.
They told me, and I was like, okay, I understand your reasoning. I said, okay, I'll just go and have a look. So I went during their last year's Christmas service, and I realized their service has toned down quite a bit. So I was like, okay, this is something that I can accept. So I start going from then until now. So I'm very lucky. God put me in a cell group where I meet like-minded people, and my cell group leader is very. I feel that I told her that, I thank you and I appreciate you for being so earthly. You don't float on clouds. You walk on earth. Because you know, when I tell you my earthly struggles, you actually understand. You don't like point at me and start lecturing me, using the Bible to lecture me and say, oh, you shouldn't do this, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And every time I met with something, whenever she can, she'll say, "Come, let's have a call, I'll pray with you." So I'm very lucky to have that. And I tell you, it is through this that I realized that God actually have never left me alone. Yeah. So all that while when I drifted away from Him. He's always with me for me. I've never, He has never abandoned me. So I realized that when I changed, when I started to take His calling, everything changed.
Life becomes easier, right? Because He's carrying you, right?
Exactly.
Cast all your burdens on Him, right? All your cares on Him, or He cares for you. All right, thank you. I think that's about it. I'm very thankful for your open sharing. I'm sure you will touch so many people's heart. I love your last part. I think you shared it with a lot of passion, and I wish you all the best. I wish that continue to pray for you for your reach and outreach to the right people and influence the right people and encourage people. And I hope that I see you on stage soon, sharing your stories to more and more people. And yeah, that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.